I'm Kronos. Welcome. Today we're gonna continue off where we stopped last time with Lucius Seneca's story. And just as a quick reminder, we were talking about crowds and why he avoids crowds and the effects being in a group has on one, and why it should be advised to be careful when you find yourself in a crowd. There is a quote that goes, I forgot who said it, but it goes something like, when you find yourself in a crowd, it is time to stop and reflect. Or something like, when you find yourself agreeing with the crowd, on the side of the crowd, of the majority, that's when you should stop and reflect. Because as we said, the crowd, the group, a lot of times has not so beneficial values, let's say mildly. As we said, insanity is the rule in crowds and rare in the individuals. So you should be careful when you associate yourself with a crowd, to not give up your own values and what you believe in order to please said crowd. You should be careful of not losing yourself in the crowd. You should be careful of what is it that, because as we said, it's a very core need. Like, people want to be a part of something. They want to be a part of the group. They don't want to be something else different. People want to fit in, but they want to be a part of something. Well, of course, there is that side, and there is also the side of people wanting to be unique, right? Wanting to be one of a kind. It's a contrast, but we have both of those. But most people, and like, I don't know many people who aren't a part of some group. A chess group, it could be a fan club, school, military, even our family WhatsApp, is a sort of a group. Like, your family is a group. We are not lone wolves, and we are sociable creatures, and we need people. And a lot of time when we get together and we get behind an idea that we all agree upon, or maybe we don't, we just want to fit in. That's the point. You should know what you're getting into, and you should always reflect when you find yourself in a group settings. Always reflect and make sure you don't do anything, and you don't let the group dictate how you know you should behave and be, and not change you. So we stopped at the point that he was going to he gave gladiator games as an example of a group turning people into crazy people, being in a group, because people literally go to these arenas to watch people die, kill each other. And as he said, it used to be a game in the sense that there was glory in it, in a way. There was something to achieve. Gladiators would have, a class. They would have shields and weapons according to their class. And there were all sorts of, there was skill involved in it. It was combat. And nowadays, he says, it's just slaughter. Basically, they throw in people, criminals, that, and give them no armor and just weapons and let them kill each other, and it's just slaughter. It's brutal and it's senseless. And it's for entertainment, cheap entertainment. It's a great example. Well, but it's like, you know what's beautiful when you read this and you're like, this was reality, like back then. Like this was, can you, like when I'm reading this, I'm like, he's talking about it. This is a person who lived in that era, and this was a real thing. Like, it's fascinating to me that, imagine like you wake up in the morning tomorrow and you're like in that era, and you're like, there's like fucking gladiator fights, like that's your theater, like that's like the greatest form of entertainment. You go to this huge coliseum and you sit down with like thousands of, tens of thousands maybe, of people like around you. You're coming to watch not a football game, but to watch like this man and this man. They go inside, they have a weapon and a shield and armor, and they just fucking fight to the death. And that's your, like, that's like, what have you done? Like, you come home like, what? Hey man, how was your day? Oh, it was great. I was in the arena. It was this great fucking fight, man. He cut his head off in the end. It was crazy, man. Like, imagine. Reality was so different. Death was so common. Our values change with time, especially as groups. But if you look, really nothing much changed. Except now it's less dramatic. We kill each other slowly. Sometimes very fast too. Wars and, you know, we find an excuse, we find a rationale to kill, even today, especially when we get into groups. Like if you take an individual, a soldier, I can take me for example, and you look at the person, you'll see he's not just a soldier, he's an individual. And when you talk to that person, he might be the greatest person in the world, but to the other side, he's a killer, a murderer, right? And they want to kill you because they don't see you as a person. When you look at groups, you neglect the you kind of separate yourself from the humanity in it, you know. When you look at a group of people and you look at them as a group and not as individuals, that's why it's very important to always remember you're dealing with people just like you and I. That's true enlightenment, true, like understanding that we are the same, and that what hurts me, what hurts you, hurts me, what hurts me hurts you. Like we all came here for an experience, and we should make it better for each other. But okay, I can just, I will never stop if I have to control myself. Okay, so let me read, excuse me. Let me read the end and then continue off to Seneca's story about going to the games. Let's go. So we ended with, yeah, what do you think I mean? I mean that I come home more greedy, more ambitious, more voluptuous, and even more cruel and inhumane, because I have been among human beings. That's an example of that he gives. He was around people and he comes home with vices that he feels like he's a worse human being because he's been around groups. So let's continue. This is where we stopped. By chance, I attended a midday exhibition, expecting some fun, wit, and relaxation. An exhibition at which men's eyes have respite from the slaughter of their fellow men. But it was quite the reverse. The previous combats were the essence of compassion, but now all the trifling is put aside and it is pure murder. And a side note is, during the Lonchedion interval, condemned criminals were often driven into the arena and compelled to fight, for the amusement of those spectators who remained throughout the day. So they would have like breaks, and there would be like, you know, it kind of like the ring girls we have today in boxing matches. Like, so we want to keep the people entertained during like, or the, you know, the pom-pom, the dancers, you know. So on half times you have these girls coming out and like doing all their choreography. Well, I guess they brought robbers, etc., and they killed them, executed them. That would be the the half-time entertainment. That's crazy. That's absolutely insane. And so, as I said earlier, he said it used to be compassion. I guess it was different back then, and then it changed over time to be more of just senseless killing. And as I said, they would throw them in, no armor, no nothing, just to die. And death just became way too convenient and too they lost their sensitivity to death, you know. It was accepted as long as it is someone who you remark as. This is another danger in groups. Like, once someone tags you, because we think categorically, so once you're tagged, like, you know, black, white, left, right, Muslim, Jew, Christian, Indian, Ethiopian, doesn't matter, Roman, it doesn't matter. Once you tag someone and then you have all these beliefs about that certain group, you put them on that person even though it might not be true. And that's, you're doing yourself a disservice and himself, because you're dwelling in ignorance, first of all. It's willing ignorance. And, well, it comes from a very real need for survival, right? Because back in the day, like, if you encountered a lion for the first time, you don't want to learn to be afraid of lions, right? It should be embedded in you, so people before you learn that lions are dangerous, so they stay away from lions, right? So that's how you know you don't have to die to because then we wouldn't survive, right? So you have to categorize a lot to, like, if I need to know this plant is edible, right? And I don't need to check every time, like, so I know this kind of plant is edible and this one is poisonous. And I can teach it to others and we can learn, and then so we all avoid that plant. So if we see that plant in another place, we know it's poisonous. It doesn't matter that it's not the same plant. You get what I'm saying? It's the same thing. So that's why we could categorize. Those are examples for survival. But nowadays, when you have your cognitive abilities, your consciousness, your neocortex should be more developed, and it should be prominent, and it should be taking over the amygdala. You should be in control. That's in your power. And so that's another dangerous thing, because if, let's say, you stole something, you're labeled a criminal, automatically criminal, okay, you can die. Like, it's okay that you will die. We can watch you die, or we will enjoy it. Like, that's the transition, you know. That criminal might have been, you know, a very good person. Might not be a criminal, just a person that did something bad. Or maybe he stole food, you know. because he needed to feed his family, and now he gets put to death. So there's levels to this. We shouldn't categorize people. We should do it to a certain extent that it helps us deal with them in a empathic way. And for example, if someone is a criminal, why? Like, first of all, yeah, we understand he did something wrong, but why did he do it? In what manner? What drove him to it? So that we can learn not only for him, but for anyone else that might do it, right? Like, so many people don't see their own vice. They see, there is a saying like in Hebrew that goes like, the camel that can't see his own hump. Like, you will judge someone for sinning in a way that you see, but you will sin in another way. You can't see that. So don't judge people for sinning just because they sin differently, right? There's also a quote for that, I don't remember, but I know there is. So let's continue. So the previous combats were the essence of compassion, but now all the trifling is put aside and it is pure murder. The men have no defensive armor. They are exposed to blows at all points, and no one ever strikes in vain. Many people prefer this program to the usual pairs and to the bouts by request. Of course they do. There is no helmet or shield to deflect the weapon. What is the need of defensive armor or of skill? All this mean delaying death. So he's again criticizing, because people, what they like, let's take MMA for example. You watch MMA, it's not just the violence, it's about the skill behind it, right? It's controlled violence, controlled chaos. It's not just, you don't want to just, but you know what? We do, like, people want to see a knockout, right? So at this point, more people, I will say this, more people care about the knockout, like they want to see someone getting knocked out more than the actual sport, the skill, the defiance, what it takes, the passion, the work, the show of skill. Like when you see someone great on a violin, and you're like, holy shit. Like, so less and less people watch it for that, and more people watch it just to watch someone getting knocked out. So they miss the whole point behind it. When you do love the sport truly, and you watch it, you because you can understand like how hard it is for someone who comes from that area. You can appreciate, like, when someone throws a really good jab or a kick or whatever, you can appreciate the skill, and you know how hard it is to get to that point, especially when you do it live and against an resisting opponent, I should say. That's how you appreciate it truly, but most people come and so the thing is, if a fight ends in 10 seconds, like, but that's what most people would like to see, like this, the fight starts, ends, knockout, like they were, oh great. And yeah, I get the excitement, I get the drama, I do love it too, like I do understand, but it can't be the goal, you know. I enjoy the fight, the everything around it, like the preparation, the mentality, like everything around it, the athleticism, the hard work, the skill, you know, the talent, everything. It's not just about watching someone getting knocked out. Actually, I would prefer a longer fight. Like, imagine you pay for a ticket or you watch it online or whatever, and the fight ends in like 10 seconds. Like, wouldn't you prefer like 3-5 rounds? I think the best would be like if you combine both worlds is that we will have 5 rounds and a knockout at the end, right? That would combine the best of both worlds. Anyway, so he's talking exactly about that. So nothing really changed. Most people watch it for just to see the end. So back then it was a lot more brutal, and they were just their MMA was gladiator fights, and you will die in the end. Like someone dies instead of just getting knocked out or losing on points. And so that's what he's saying. So of course people prefer the no armor, no shields. You just get the knockout, right? You get the kill. That's what they're there for. So it became brutal. It became murder instead of a showcase of skill. All this, what is the need? So he's saying sarcastically, what is the need of defensive armor or of skill? All this mean delaying death. Yeah. So in the morning they throw men to the lions and the bears. At noon they throw them to the spectators. The spectators demand that the slayer shall face the man who is to slay him in his turn, and they always reserve the last conqueror for another butchering. The outcome of every fight is death, and the means are fire and sword. The sort of thing goes on while the arena is empty. So he's continuing on and giving more examples of how they murder and kill people. Just death everywhere, and even when the arena is empty, they still basically they're doing it. It's so like usual. It's so mundane for them at this point that they pay it no mind. Like, yeah, another kill, another murder, another death, another life loss. They don't care, and they do it for entertainment, for the cheapest entertainment. And they always reserve the conqueror for another butchering, so they always keep you waiting for another, like they will promote it, and like whoever survives will just die another day, basically, and all for the entertainment of the crowds. The outcome is always death. There is no other way to win or lose, and it is by fire and sword, so brutal. Let's continue. You may retort, but he was a highway robber. He killed a man. And what of it? Granted that, as a murderer, he deserved this punishment. What crime have you committed, poor fellow, that you should deserve to sit and see this show? So he's flipping it around. The problem is, so he's giving an example. What if he's a murderer? What if he's a highway murderer? He deserves to die, right? In their eyes. And so Seneca says, even if that is so, even if he is a robber, a murderer, and he deserves to die, let's say that he does. What crime have you committed? Why do you go and why do you taint your soul and go and expose yourself to that? What crime have you committed? So he flips it around, and he says that's not the problem, like per se. The actual killing could be justified, like maybe. He's giving it as an example. Even if it is justified, the killing, why watch it? You're doing damage to yourself, basically. So he's criticizing the people that come to watch. So, in the morning they cried, kill him, lash him, burn him. Why does he meet the sword in so cowardly a way? Why does he strike so feebly? Why doesn't he die game? Whip him to meet his wounds. Let him receive blow for blow, with chest bare and exposed to the stroke. And when the game stopped for the intermission, they announce, a little throat cutting in the meanwhile, so that there may still be something going on. So he's criticizing again how the crowds, not only do they come to spectate, they actually love it. They earn for it, yearn for it, they ask for it, they angrily yell and shout, and they want more, and they demand to see this, to watch these horrible shows. And so he criticizes how the crowd is asking for death to watch it. And so it's all like they treat it so casually. And the promotion, like the arena, they will between breaks announce about further killing. That's how crazy, insane the crowd becomes. Come on. No, come now. Do you not understand even this truth? That a bad example reacts on the agent? Thank the immortal gods, us, we are the immortal gods, remember, that you are teaching a cruelty to a person who cannot learn to be cruel. The young character which cannot hold fast to righteousness must be rescued from the mob. It is too easy to side with the majority. Yeah, so, first of all, I want to emphasize that, where is it? It was right here. Oh yeah. Come on, do you not understand even this truth? He's speaking to the, metaphorically he's speaking to the spectator, to the person who goes to the game shows, to the gladiator game shows. To the gladiator show, I don't know, gladiator games. Yeah, to watch. So, to watch the gladiators fight. So, when he says, come on, come now, do you not understand even this truth, that a bad example reacts on the agent? Thank the immortal gods that you are teaching a cruelty to a person who cannot learn to be cruel. So he's speaking to the spectators. Can you not understand this truth? That a bad example reacts on the agent. You should not expose impressionable minds, or anyone really, to that. To a person who cannot learn to be cruel. So he's saying, like, I guess they would teach it to even young people, but they will show it to even young people. It was there isn't even like you're teaching, you're reacting because you're exposing yourself to it. You're reacting in a way that is, you're doing yourself a disservice. And your character has not developed. So the young character, which cannot hold fast to righteousness, must be rescued from the mob. It is too easy to side with the majority. Yeah, so it's so easy, convenient, like just be on everyone's side, we spoke about this too. It's the easy path. Being alone and finding truly who you are and what you are, and inside is the hard part. Being alone is the hard part. Know thyself. That's the hard part. Agreeing with the group is easy. Not having your own opinion is easy. Or not having an opinion at all. Siding with the majority is easy. And especially when you cannot hold fast to righteousness. So if you haven't even developed yet the skills to be able to know right from wrong, basically, I'm saying basically, right, generally speaking, it's so easy to side with the mob because you don't know better. Even Socrates, Cato, and Laelius might have been shaken in their moral strength by a crowd that was unlike them. So true it is that none of us, no matter how much he cultivates his abilities, can withstand the shock of faults that approach, as it were. with so great a retinue. So he gives the great philosophers as examples of people who are righteousness, who do know wrong, right from wrong, who do have their core values and everything. He gives the example of the extreme smartest, most wise people, that even they are affected by the crowds. That is too different from them. Even when they know themselves, and they're still affected in a way. So it's very important to, even if they can do it, like if they are affected, who are we, to not inspect and check, because you should ask yourself, how am I affected, how was I affected, and see if in any way, shape or form, by your time around groups, in groups. I'm not saying come home every day and after work and contemplate for hours, how did me belonging to this company changed me, but you should actually do it, but not every day. But I'm saying you should do it, ask yourself, how have I changed throughout the year belonging to this? What groups are you in? How do you identify yourself? Do you identify as a certain group? We had all this gender dysphoria happening when people wanted to be so badly, so special, yet different, and still a part of a group, that they decided to change their gender, etc., and brutalize the language, the English and every other language, with their made up words, which, by the way, just as a side note, this had not to do with this, I guess, but just as a side note, language is created by usage. So we as a people decide by using certain words that they are a part of the language. It is not the authorities or whoever writes this vocabularies, or it's not the government, it's not the system that decides what words. The moment, this is why Jordan Peterson was so passionate about this and fought this so much, because he understands, once you take someone's freedom of language, you take the freedom of speech, and you are able to manipulate how people, when you can manipulate how people, what words people use. We're going to talk about this in this channel a lot. Grimoire, you create your reality by using the words you use create your reality. And when you can engineer how people speak and what words they use, and you can enforce it, which is insane, not only you're trembling over their basic rights, but you're able to control how they think and how they communicate. Think about North Korea. Think about Russia. Places that certain stuff can't be said, if you talk about Putin, you will be taken care of. You will be silenced. If you're in North Korea, you will be probably killed, If you talk about this Kim Jong-un, whatever his name is. So that's the first step. That's how you do it. So language is not created because they decide this is how you call this. It's decided by us, by usage. So slang is really a continuation of the language. If we all agree, it's created really by, if we all agree on a meaning of a certain word, that's how the word is created. I mean, we can all agree this is a candle, right? It's a candle. If I call this something else, you will not understand what I'm speaking about. So because we agree this is a candle. If I call this, well, in Hebrew it's ner. So if I call this ner, and you don't know what ner means, so I can't communicate with you about it. But if we agree that this is ner, or if we agree this is a candle, then we can communicate, and that's how we decide on words, basically. Of course, there's a lot more to it. Of course, I'm not a linguistic historian. I know there is, of course, there is structure, etc., and it was built in a way. But my point is, authorities can decide that's on new stuff based not on reality. They can't even decide what words are and what aren't, and what you can say or not say. And it doesn't even work that way. It's not, that's forced, so forced, and it doesn't work that way. Like you can tell me, like, if I wanna curse and I know a swear word, you cannot delete that from my mind, right? You can't unteach me that. You can, but you can maybe force me not to say it. That's the problem, and that's why it's such a, just all this, just a side note. Yeah, so we're gonna continue off next time on, well, yeah, he was speaking right about he gave examples of the big philosophers, you know. Yeah, he goes more deeply about what it is, how it affects, well, the crowds, and how to behave and how to handle, well, what was it? Yeah. Yeah. How to handle it, how to handle publicity. Yeah, about looking within, and yeah, of course, it just goes more deeply. Yeah. Basically, the next time we will talk about how changing or helping one person is how it changed the world, and how it is how you should treat people, individuals, just as importantly as you do groups. So for example, if my channel has 10 people watching it, which by the way doesn't have even that yet, but I believe in the future, you know, and I'll keep at it until I do get like at least 10. My point is, I should appreciate and treat this, like even one person, that's a better example. Even if I have just one person watching, I should treat him just as well as I would a group if I had a million, and give him the value that I believe he deserves, just as if I was speaking to a million people. And that's the basic of what we're gonna speak about next time. And yeah, it's gonna be interesting, because there's true value in that, and understanding, and when you truly understand it, you can be a better version of yourself. I can speak for myself. And so, with that being said, I will not see you next time. We will talk next time. I still need to work on that outro, you know. Anyway, I hope you have a good evening, and remember, as always, we are immortal gods in temporary bodies, infinite souls. We came here for a lesson, so you are immortals. Don't be afraid. Ciao.